Night shift at Walmart can be a drag. I've done it before. It's just one of those things you do when you're in high school. And my high school was not very fun. But tonight is different. Something feels off. The store is emptier than normal, and there's no music playing over the intercom. That meant that the only sounds I had to listen to were the hum of the lights above me and the squeaking of my shoes against the linoleum floor. I was working the front end tonight, so I spent most of my time just scanning people's things and bagging their groceries. Every so often I would hear a cough or a whisper from somewhere in the store, each time making me jump a little bit. I didn't know if it was 10 or 20 minutes into my shift when the first person came through the doors. It was a man pushing a shopping cart filled with nothing but cans of Vienna sausages and jars of mayonnaise. He looked pretty normal, except for his bare feet and the fact that he was wearing a hat backwards. The guy put all of his items down on the conveyor belt, and then he took a Vienna sausage out of his pocket and started eating it while staring at me. I tried to keep a smile on my face, but I couldn't help myself from getting creeped out. After he paid for his items, he left without saying a word. For a moment, I just stood there watching him go. He made it to the door, and then he turned around to look at me again. I waved awkwardly, and he disappeared into the night. It wasn't long after that when another customer came up to my checkout. This one was a woman who looked like she had just stepped out of an 80s movie. She had big blonde hair, lots of makeup, and a tight dress on. She had also brought a pair of scissors with her, and she set them down on the counter as she started unloading her stuff. She kept trying to make conversation with me, but I was just too busy scanning the barcodes. She seemed a little irritated by that, but she didn't say anything. As soon as she could, she left, and I went back to organizing the magazines. One thing about working the front end is that you get to see everything. You get to see every single person who comes in and out of the store. So when I tell you that I saw something weird, I mean really weird. 3 teenagers walked in, pushing a shopping cart between them. They didn't have any money, and they weren't carrying any identification. And if you're wondering what the age limit is to shoplift in Texas, it's 17. They started grabbing random things and stuffing them into their coats. I was watching them out of the corner of my eye as they approached my checkout. I didn't want to confront them, but I couldn't help myself. I asked them if they needed any help. One of them turned around and gave me the middle finger. Then they just kept walking. My boss wasn't going to be happy about this, but I decided that enough was enough. I grabbed my radio and called the police. I watched the 3 figures walk away from my checkout and disappear into the rows of products. I knew exactly where they were going. That was the storage room. I felt bad for whoever had to go back there and clean up the mess that they had made. And then I saw a familiar figure come out from behind some boxes. It was the barefoot man from earlier. He was holding a can of Vienna sausages in one hand and a knife in the other. He smiled at me, revealing a mouthful of teeth that hadn't been there before. He dropped the can and picked up my radio. "Come a little closer," he said, his voice raspy and low. I couldn't move. My feet were rooted to the spot, and my eyes were fixed on his. He took a step towards me, and I flinched. But instead of attacking me, he did something even more terrifying. He dropped the radio and picked up a box of cereal. "Would you like some Cocoa Pebbles?" he asked, his smile never fading. I managed to squeak out a no, and he nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. He placed the cereal back on the shelf and walked away slowly. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. I was frozen in place until he was out of sight. When I finally came to my senses, I ran to the back of the store to hide. I don't know why I thought that hiding would help, but it was the only thing that I could think of doing. I found some cleaning supplies under a table and used them to barricade the door. I leaned against the wall, trying to calm my breathing, but it was no use. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my hands were shaking. Then I heard footsteps. Someone was coming towards me. I held my breath and waited for them to pass by. But when I peeked out from behind the table, I saw that it was just the woman from earlier. She had a confused look on her face as she stared at the barricade of cleaning supplies. "What are you doing?" she asked me. I jumped. I was just looking for someone to talk to," I lied. She didn't believe me, but she didn't press the issue. Instead, she picked up one of the bottles of cleaner and started wiping down the table. "You should be careful in here," she said, her voice low and conspiratorial. "Some of the people who come in here at night aren't very friendly." I nodded, too scared to speak. She gave me a warning look, and then she disappeared into the darkness. I stayed hidden there for a few minutes, listening for any sound of pursuit. When I finally felt brave enough to leave, I went back to the front of the store and locked the doors. I didn't bother calling the cops. I knew they wouldn't come. The rest of my shift passed without incident, or so I thought. About 15 minutes before my shift ended, I heard a noise in the stockroom. It sounded like someone was moving boxes around. I told myself that it was probably just the new guy stocking up for the morning shift, but I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread. I tried to keep myself busy, but my eyes kept darting towards the stockroom door. As soon as the clock hit 6 a.m., I ran to the back of the store to hide. I didn't know if it was 10 or 20 minutes later when I heard footsteps near the stockroom. I pressed myself against the boxes, trying to make my body smaller. Then I heard a voice. "Hey, are you in there?" I froze. It was the same raspy voice that I had heard earlier. "I know you're in there," the voice continued. "We need to talk." I didn't answer. What could I say? I stayed perfectly still, hoping that whatever was out there would just go away. But it didn't. The footsteps grew louder, and then the door to the stockroom opened. I squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for impact, but it never came. Instead, I heard the sound of the door closing again. I waited, listening intently, but there was nothing. After a few moments, I crept towards the door and peeked my head out. The coast was clear. I made it to the front door without being seen. As I stepped outside, I let out a breath that I didn't realize I was holding. The parking lot was empty. All of the cars that had been there when I arrived were gone. Mine was still there, though. I fumbled with my keys, my hands still shaking. Finally, I got the door unlocked and I slid into the driver's seat. I was just about to start the engine when I heard a noise in the bushes by the side of the building. I froze. Was he out there? Had he followed me? I dared to take a peek outside. Through the window, there was nothing there. I started the car and drove away quickly. I didn't stop driving until I got home. Even then, I didn't feel safe. I kept my windows closed and my doors locked as I walked inside. It wasn't until I was safely tucked away in my bed that I allowed myself to relax. Looking back, I'm not sure if I actually encountered a monster that night, or if it was all just in my head. Maybe I was just exhausted and imagining things. Or maybe there really are monsters that lurk in the shadows of our everyday lives. If you ask me, I'll tell you that I'll never go back to that Walmart again. Hey guys, so tonight I'm working the night shift at Walmart. It's just me and one other coworker who's getting off in about 20 minutes. It's been a pretty slow night so far, and I haven't seen a single customer, which is kind of creepy, because normally there is at least one person wandering around at this hour, looking for something they probably do and need. I have to push all the shopping carts back into the storage area, and it's really boring. I finished that, and now I'm restocking the magazines and the newspapers. The store is pretty quiet, besides the hum of the lights and the faint chatter from people on the intercom. Since no customers are around, I can't hear myself think sometimes. As I'm straightening up the newspapers, I notice a magazine rack across the aisle has fallen over. It was fine when I came through here before. I guess one of the customers knocked it over earlier and didn't say anything. It's actually a little scary how quiet it is. You can't even hear the wind outside. It's like the whole world is asleep right now. I start to make my way down the next aisle, and I see something that makes me stop in my tracks. There's this shampoo display, and it has all these bottles in a pyramid shape. And when I walk past, I swear I saw one of the bottles move. I could have sworn it was standing straight up, and then when I looked away, and then I looked back, it was laying flat, like someone pushed it over. But I know I wasn't the only person in the store. I mean, I just saw Donna stocking the clearance bins just a few minutes ago. So I walk a little closer to take another look. And yeah, there's definitely something strange going on. Like, I'm telling you, these bottles were perfectly straight just a second ago. Now they all twisted at weird angles, like someone was trying to reach for something or pushing things around. And then I see this tiny black bag on the floor under the pyramid. It's kind of crumpled like someone threw it under there. And when I pick it up, it's filled with a bunch of tiny little pebbles that kind of feel like dirt. I shake them into the palm of my hand, and then I throw them back under the shelf. I don't want to touch those things anymore. They feel dirty. Maybe some homeless guy was hiding under here, and he used this bag to collect rainwater or something. I don't know. I walk over to the end cap to get some more cleaning supplies, and I'm trying to open this thing, and I am having a hard time with it. I finally rip it open, and the box falls apart. This sucks. I should probably be more careful, because it is dangerous to walk around in the store if you're not paying attention. And as I'm reaching for the bottom of the bin, I see this brown leather wallet on the floor. So I pick it up and flip it over. There's nothing inside except a single business card that says Mark Smith. There's no phone number or address or anything. I'm almost done restocking, and I don't want to waste too much time on this. So I put the wallet back where I found it, and I continue organizing the rest of the cleaning supplies. Now I'm walking through the auto section, and I see that the windshield wiper fluid has all been knocked off the shelves. The bottles are shattered everywhere, and there's fluid all over the floor. This is crazy. It must have been an earthquake or something. There's no way a person could knock over every single bottle and break them all. I keep scanning the parking lot as I walk through the garden section, and I see there is not a single car out here. Not one car. This is absolutely insane. Is everyone at home watching TV right now? Did I somehow miss an announcement that everyone had to stay indoors or something? The power suddenly flickers, and the fluorescent lights buzz. That's odd. I thought we had a power outage drill last week. Why would the lights flicker like that? If it's a drill, why isn't anyone telling me? Was I supposed to tell them I saw the lights flicker? Why aren't they telling me what to do? I grab a pack of air fresheners, and as I turn to put them on the shelf, I see something fall off the end cap in the next aisle over. At first, I think it's a mop bucket because those things are always falling over, but it's actually a bucket of degreaser. It lands right in front of the electronics section, and I can't help but wonder if it is too much of a coincidence. I should call my boss and ask what's going on. What if there's a fire or a gas leak or something? I don't know. Maybe I should go outside and check. No, that's dumb. Of course it's fine. I mean, I know the store's poorly maintained, and the emergency exits are blocked by boxes and pallets, but I'm sure there's plenty of oxygen in here. Plus, there's probably water. Right. I mean, the water in the fountains is refilled every morning. Right? I try to calm my heart rate down, and I make my way to the sporting goods section to get more baseball bats. Okay, I know this is stupid, but I swear I heard a whisper just then. It said, "You're all alone." It sounded like someone was using the store's intercom system, but Donna said she was the only other person in the store, and our manager would never allow her to talk over the intercom. I think I'm hearing things now. I probably shouldn't be out here by myself. I should get someone else to come with me. No, that's dumb. Who am I gonna ask? The only other employee is Donna, and she's clocking out right now. Besides, she'd probably just laugh at me if I asked her to listen for voices with me. She'd think I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to organize these baseball bats, and it feels like I'm holding a weapon. I just want to smash things with it. Why does everything have to be so loud in here? It feels like the walls are closing in on me, and there's nowhere to escape. I stumble backwards, and I bump into a row of bicycles. I'm sweating, and my heart is pounding, and my eyes are darting around. I swear I saw something move out of the corner of my eye. I couldn't see what it was, but it was definitely there. There's absolutely no way I'm staying in here after my shift ends. I started this job 2 weeks ago, and it's been nothing but weird occurrences. For example, one night I heard chains dragging metal motels through the middle of the store. Then last week, I saw the janitorial closet door swing open on its own. And the creepiest part is that every morning after my shift, I find bite marks on my arms. I told my manager, and he said it was probably just bug bites, but I live in an apartment, and I've never seen a bug that leaves marks exactly like this. If I knew what was happening, I wouldn't be so scared. It's this uncertainty that drives me crazy. I want to get out of here. I want to get out of this store. I walk through the garden section again, and I can hear the sound of footsteps behind me. They sound like they're coming from the storage room. The store's closed, and no customers are supposed to be in here. What if someone broke in, and they're stalking me? I can't imagine anyone would have the nerve to do that. I run over to the electronics section, and I hide behind these display stands. My breath is coming in sharp gasps, and my hands are shaking. I close my eyes and try to count to 10, but I can still hear the footsteps approaching. I'm gonna run for the emergency exit, but as soon as I turn to go, the lights above me flicker. I scream, and then I hit the floor. I don't know how long I lay there because my whole body is sore and stiff. Finally, I work my way to the door, and I step outside into the fresh air. It's so nice to be away from those buzzing lights and that awful smell. The parking lot looks deserted. I look back at the store, and I think I might be crazy. But as I walk to my car, I can hear faint whispering coming from inside the store. I can't make out the words, but it sounds like there are multiple voices talking very softly. Hello, friends. It's me. Have you ever shopped at Walmart at 2 a.m.? Well, if not, let me tell you, it's an experience. On a Wednesday night, I was working the night shift at Walmart as a courtesy clerk. For those of you who don't know, that's basically where you just sit at a desk and bag groceries and stuff. But every once in a while, someone will come up to you with a cart full of items and ask you to bag them. So on this particular night, I was sitting there doing my usual thing when all of a sudden I heard a loud crash. Now, this Walmart was really old, so things like that happened all the time. You know, maybe a box fell off a shelf or something. But this sound was different. It was like something heavy hitting the floor really hard. And since the store was pretty much empty at this time, I decided to check it out. As I walked down the aisles, I noticed that the lights were flickering and there was this weird humming noise coming from somewhere. I couldn't quite place it, but the more I tried to focus on the sound, the more it seemed to fade away. Just then, I rounded the corner and almost jumped out of my skin. There, standing between the shelves, was what looked to be a huge spider. No, this had to be a dream. I started to walk back slowly, trying to convince myself that it wasn't real, that it was just a big spider or something. Then suddenly, it turned around and took a step towards me. I screamed and ran to the other end of the store. I didn't dare look back. I could hear it moving swiftly through the aisles, getting closer and closer. Then I remembered the emergency button under the counter. When I pressed it, an alarm started blaring. I could hear the creature screeching in the distance. Was it getting scared? I don't know. I was too afraid to find out. I hid under the counter until the police came, and they never found anything. I quit the next day. Okay, yeah, that one creeps me out. I can't believe how fast it got to me. Okay, here's another one. It was late on a Sunday night, and I was the only person in the store except for the employees. I was pushing my cart down the aisles looking for some ice cream when all of a sudden I heard glass breaking. I stopped and listened. Then I heard the distinct sound of footsteps. Footsteps. I began to run down the nearest aisle, but by the time I reached the end, whatever had made the noise was gone. I checked the surrounding areas, but there was no sign of anyone. As I continued my search for ice cream, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The hair on the back of my neck stood on end. My heart pounded in my chest. I felt like I was being hunted. Then I saw it. A pair of glowing eyes peering at me from between the shelves. They were cold, emotionless, reptilian eyes that sent shivers down my spine. What the hell was that? The eyes blinked slowly, then vanished. I stood frozen in place, unable to move as a sense of dread washed over me. I turned and fled, making my way through the maze of aisles as fast as I could. But the feeling of being watched intensified. I could feel its presence closing in on me, its breath hot on my neck. I dared not look back. The thought of those piercing eyes boring into my skull was too much to bear. Adrenaline surged through my veins, propelling me forward. One had to get out of there. I could hear its heavy footsteps pounding on the concrete floor, getting closer with each passing second. I could almost feel its hot, fetid breath on my neck. Panic swelled up inside me, choking me, urging me to run faster, but my legs felt like lead. I stumbled and fell, scraping my hands and knees on the rough concrete floor. Pain shot through me, but I didn't care. I scrambled to my feet and ran for my life. Then it appeared, blocking my path, its eyes gleaming with an eerie glow. It was tall and thin, with long, sharp claws that scraped against the floor. Its skin was gray and slimy, and its teeth were bared in a snarl. I screamed and tried to move around it, but it was too quick. It lunged at me, knocking me to the ground and sinking its claws into my arm. I cried out in pain and fear as it dragged me toward it. Its putrid breath, reeking of decay and death, filled my nostrils. But before it could do any real damage, the lights flickered and turned on. Startled, it paused and disappeared into the darkness. The moment the lights came on, I scrambled to my feet and ran to the exit, not stopping until I was safely outside. I looked back, but all I saw was the dark silhouette of the creature standing in the doorway. It was gone. I called the police, but they found nothing. Maybe it wasn't real, I thought. Maybe it was just a figment of my imagination. But the pain in my arm was very real. And as I looked down, I saw that it was covered in deep scratches. I knew then that what I had experienced was all too real. Oh God, that is terrifying. Imagine being attacked by a monster in a Walmart, and then it runs away when the lights turn on. That's messed up. Okay, here's one more for you guys. I was stocking shelves in the electronics department late at night. The store was almost empty, and I was about to finish my shift. I had just put away a display of headphones when I heard a noise in the next aisle over. It sounded like something large and heavy being dragged along the floor. I froze, listening intently. Then I heard it again, along with a low growl. I tried to convince myself it was nothing, just some pipes or something, but my gut told me otherwise. Fear pricked at my skin. I was alone in the store, and whatever was in that aisle wasn't human. Cautiously, I moved closer, keeping an eye on the spot where the noise had come from. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear movement, heavy footsteps, and guttural growls. My heart pounded in my chest, each thud echoing the creature's steps. I wanted to run to scream, but terror rooted me to the spot. Suddenly, the creature emerged from between the shelves. It was hunched over, dragging itself closer to me. With each movement, its form became clearer. It was humanoid in shape, yet not quite human. Its limbs were too long, its back too hunched. Its head was gnarled and twisted. Patches of what looked like dirty rags hung from its body. I stared, mesmerized by the grotesque figure before me, and then it snarled, bearing rows of sharp yellow teeth. I gasped, scrambling backwards. The creature lurched forward, moving with surprising speed. I tripped over my own feet and landed on the floor. Scrambling to get away, I crawled toward the aisle end. The creature loomed over me, its hot, fetid breath washing over me. I shut my eyes tight, bracing for the worst. Its claws extended, long and sharp, and raked across my face. I screamed, tears streaming down my face. The pain was excruciating. The creature hissed, its grip tightening. Then it vanished. When I opened my eyes, it was gone. I sat up, my whole body trembling. Looking back, I saw a set of long, muddy claw marks on the floor where the creature had been standing. A chill ran down my spine. I don't know what that thing was, but it was definitely real. Wait, what was that? These are crazy. These stories are freaking insane. If these things are real, I want nothing to do with them. But anyway, that is all for me today, ... This happened about a year ago when I was still working at the retail job at Walmart. It was about 10 p.m. and I was the only employee left in the store except for Carlos, who was stocking in the back with his usual partner. No one else would be in the store because it had been closed to customers for an hour. As far as I knew, there weren't supposed to be any night shoppers either, which was good because those people were always trying to steal carts. It was so quiet that I could hear the hum of the fluorescent lights above me and the faint crackle of the intercom in the back room. I was just folding shirts and straightening up displays like I normally did during my closing shift when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I don't know if you've ever had that happen where you just get this feeling that you're not alone. I tried to shake it off and get back to work, but then things started getting weird. First, it was the shopping carts. They started moving on their own. At first, it was just little movements, like how the cart's wheels would turn on their own, or the handle would spin around. Then they started coming toward me. I tried to get away, but the carts kept following me down the aisles. And I swear they were gaining on me. I could feel myself panicking as I ran through the store. Then I heard a loud bang, and the automatic doors at the front of the store opened on their own. I remember staring at them for a second, wondering if maybe the wind blew them open, even though all the windows in our store were locked shut. But then the doors closed again, and that's when I turned and ran for the hills. Or at least the storage room. I threw myself inside and huddled in the corner as I tried to catch my breath. I told myself it was just the wind, but I didn't buy it. There was something strange going on in that store. I could feel it in my bones. Then everything went back to normal. The lights stopped flickering, the buzzing in my ears faded away, and the rolling of the carts outside the door slowed to a stop. I stayed in that storage room for what felt like hours, even though it was probably only a few minutes. I just didn't want to leave. I wanted to wait until someone else came in, so I wouldn't have to face whatever was out there alone. But eventually, I had to get out. I had to go to the bathroom, and thankfully Carlos came with me out of concern, even though I remember shoving him away slightly and telling him to just go ahead without me. I don't think he believed me when I told him about the carts, so I just let it go. On the way back from the bathroom, we stopped at one of the checkout registers. My stuff was there, along with a bunch of other garbage, and I remember staring at it. expecting it to move on its own. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. Then the screen flashed. We both jumped and stared at it as the amount typed on the screen began to change on its own. I grabbed Carlos's arm, and he finally seemed to believe me. We ran to the back room, both of us just staring over our shoulders, half expecting to see the register wheels come flying at us. We locked ourselves in the office and waited until morning. Neither of us said a word, but I could tell by the wild look in his eyes that he was just as scared as I was. When the manager came in, I told her what had happened, but she just laughed and said we were both just tired and stressed out. I wasn't buying it, but I couldn't prove anything, so I just let it go. To this day, I still get the chills when I remember the feeling of those carts rolling behind me, the doors opening on their own, the register acting up. Maybe it was just a crazy night at work, but sometimes when I'm driving home late at night and I pass by that Walmart, I can still hear the faint hum of the fluorescent lights and the rolling of the shopping carts in the parking lot. Sometimes I can even hear what sounds like voices whispering to me from inside the store.